Yo, we out here, and I spent the last little bit recording that video and didn't even remember the main thing that I that I wrote down as a topic for the video, and it had to do with tying back into some other things that I've been learning and dealing with and struggling with. This concept of letting go, right? Especially not knowing different things and feeling like you should know things. The last video kind of took it in the direction of gratitude and how gratitude is easy when life is easy, but when life and when circumstances are hard, gratitude becomes meaningful. And, you know, I think that was a good message, and that's where my head was at. So that's what it was. But I did want to touch on the connection of letting go and kind of this next mindset growth pattern or whatever that I'm in at the moment, where it's like, hey man, you think you've gotten to a point um, that's been built by your hands and with God's help and all that kind of stuff, but you still have to let go. Even when you think you know what it is and you're confident about, you still have to let it go. And it's funny because after the events of today, and it feels like everything is in flux, right? I had been able to move things around and shuffle things around so that this coming weekend would be my first one with the Navy. Super excited for that. But I don't know if that's actually going to happen now because I'm still here in Tennessee and I may not get my car back until tomorrow when I'm supposed to be in Indianapolis. I got to let it go. God knows what's up. I got to let it go. My car ideally would have been done a couple days ago, and perhaps at a literal fraction of the original quotes that I had received, but didn't go that way. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. Stuff with family, right? We go to visit my mom, and that wasn't particularly productive. And then she's calling my phone a lot and leaving all these messages with so many different random messages. Gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. And I could go on and on and on. My job right now, what am I trying to do? Like, what direction am I looking to go? Um, the feeling of kind of completeness and fulfillment when I'm working with young people and inspiring and doing things like gymnastics, and then my regular day-to-day job doesn't involve any of that. Gotta let it go. Oh man, so many different things, and it's like it's funny because, like I said, you feel like you make progress in certain directions, and you feel like you're right on the cusp of something big, and that's where I feel like I am in life right now. Even to the point of you get a newer vehicle and things are running well, and then all of a sudden they're not. What do? You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. And so in the midst of all of that, there's this principle. Like, I know that we tend to want to feel like holding on more when things are good, and this is the similarity to the point I brought up in the video about gratitude. um it's easy to feel like you can let off the reins. I think I said that backwards. When things are going good, it's easy to feel like you're on cruise control and that you don't have to worry about things and that it's all good, because it is all good. But when things get hard, that's when it's harder to let go, because you're already in a state of flux of not understanding, not knowing what's going to come next, not knowing if the fruit of your labor is going to be realized. And it almost makes you want to double down and work harder to make this happen. Let me call one more time. Let me send one more text. Let me write one more email. Um, let me try this. Let me try that. And we tend to want to double down when things get hard and we're not seeing the result. And it's harder to let go in those moments. But again, the same way that gratitude becomes more meaningful when the situations are hard, letting go is more revealing of a trusting character when times are difficult. And on one hand, it's like, a great lesson to learn. Grateful for a lesson and just a different thought process when it comes to that. Not exactly sure what the reason is or if there's a reason. Because personally, I was kind of arguing or debating with my dad the other day. Like, I don't know. Should have thought this was a piece of candy, but I think it's a marble. Don't eat it. Um, I was having a discussion with my dad the other day about whether or not everything happens for a reason, and I think there were a couple good examples of things that we talked about where it's like I really struggle to believe that happens for a reason because there's an assumption that there's only one good outcome. When I think whenever people say that in a spiritual sense, it can come across as very insensitive to others who may not have the same background and understanding and even hope. So I think that's something we have to be careful with. But to me, the point is like, I think that God can make good things out of anything. And then from that perspective, our perspective shift helps us to see that something that was originally bad could be good. And that speaks to another video I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. I may get to it now because we're only a few minutes in. So, but it's like that concept of letting go within that. It's not easy, but those are the places where it can make the biggest impact, if that makes sense. So think about Joseph. Been reading about Joseph in my daily devotions the last couple of days, these last couple chapters and sections of the book of Genesis. And Joseph is a fascinating story, probably one of the more beloved Bible characters in his story, like from rags to riches, so to speak, from riches to rags and from rags to riches. He goes from being the favored son of his father to being sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused of trying to rape or whatever with his master's wife, ends up thrown in jail, reveals the answers or the explanations for some visions that a couple fellow prison mates are having. And the guy who gets out forgets to let the king know until years later. And then finally, after all of that, Joseph is brought back into a position of power and influence, so much so that he's able to help Pharaoh interpret his own dream about the famine that's going to come. And as a result of all of this, he's put in a position to where he can ultimately save his own family, the one that originally sold him into slavery to begin with. It's wild. But after all of that speed run through Joseph's story, you imagine, like, if you can imagine, a story like this, I think, is very difficult for us to put ourselves into because the context is so different, right? But how many of us could say that um, we had dreams of our family bound down to us? How many of us could say that we were the favored child? How many of us could say that our own siblings couldn't stand us and sold us into slavery the first chance that they got? How many of us could say that we were falsely accused after doing our best and being an upstanding citizen? How many of us could say that we get falsely accused of something and end up in prison for it? Like, these are not things that are easy to go through by any means. And yet Joseph is continually trusting God. He's continually letting go. And there's a lot of growth that's happening in the process too. Because like I said, a lot of times you may have the ultimate right perspective on something, but your presentation could be so off that people don't want to listen to it. Joseph had that. I mean, he ran his mouth probably a little too much as a kid growing up, talking about, hey, mom and dad and bro and sisters, sister and brothers, y'all all gonna bow down to me. Like, that's what I saw in the dream. And you keep rattling on and on about that. You're the favorite. You got the coat of many colors and all this stuff. Everybody gonna be tired of you. So there was a lot of growth that happened there for Joseph for sure. But when he gets to that point, it wasn't an easy thing. It might have been a little bit easy being the favorite son and on cruise control earlier. But from that moment that he was sold into slavery, it was not an easy thing to do. So he has to learn, he has to grow, he has to trust in God in ways that he hasn't before. Things become more real for him in a way that I don't think that they were beforehand, just because of how he communicated. Because the way you can tell, because the way that he treats his brothers as the right hand of Pharaoh doesn't reflect the kind of snobbish behavior that he exhibited as a kid. But all of that comes from letting go and being willing to let go of how somebody treated you and of the situations telling you that things are going to end up this way and saying, no, I'm going to let go of this. And I'm going to trust that God is going to work things out, whether you know or not. He didn't know. I don't know that there was ever any assurance or vision that he got that he was going to be out of prison or anything like that. His only hope was that guy who forgot him. It's fascinating. He has to let go in the midst of all of that without having any idea what's going to come. And then even when he gets to the other side where he's rising up out of it, he has to let go and continue to let God lead because he understands that God put him in that position. And it's summarized. I love this verse, and I'd totally forgotten that it was there. Let me look up Bible Gateway real quick. Genesis chapter 50. I think it's verse 22 or something like that. '24. Nope. Nope. Where is it? It is 50. Oh, 20. Here we go. So check this out. You have this whole story, this whole saga. Joseph has been letting go of things his entire life. Even the bitterness and maybe the resentment that he had towards his own brothers for selling him into slavery. He's let go of it. He's let God take over all of it. And when Jacob dies, the brothers think, oh man, Pops is out the way. Joseph's going to get his revenge on us now for sure. For sure. And Joseph ends up weeping because it's like, no, that's not what it is at all. And it shows that even though the brothers had grown some, they still had a little bit more to learn, right? Maybe in their own growth, they hadn't even forgiven themselves for what they had done, understanding now how full circle things had gone. But Joseph's response to them when the brothers say to him, we'll be your slaves, is that, don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see, you planned evil against me, but God used those same plans for my good. As you see all around you right now, life for many people. Easy now, you have nothing to fear. I'll take care of you and your children. And to me, that's awesome. How many things in Joseph's experience were literally meant for evil? Your sibling selling you into slavery is nothing but evil. Somebody falsely accusing him of a crime that lands him in one of the worst prisons you can be in. Somebody meant that for evil. But look at the position that these things continue to put Joseph in, even if he didn't know, even if he didn't have a voice of encouragement or anything to reason to say, yeah, it'll be okay. So I can be cheerful during this because I already know what the outcome is. He didn't know. He didn't know. But he had to let go throughout that entire time. And it enabled him to keep a good perspective, even though he didn't know. I keep saying that over and over again because I don't think repetition definitely deepens the impression, but I can't say that repetition makes it any easier to understand. You know what I'm saying? To be able to let go when you don't know is hard. And like I said in the previous video, that's where I feel I am now. There's so many different things going on, so many different directions. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like I'm stuck here. And I can't move in this direction or that one. I don't know. But I have to let go. I have to let go. And in Joseph's case, look at all the good that it ended up doing. All that stuff that people intend for evil on him, God turned it to good. It isn't that those bad things happen for a reason, but God was able to, because Joseph had to opt into the goodness of God in that situation. He didn't have to. That was his choice. And because he chose to opt into the goodness of God, his perspective shifts. So as he lets go, he can see the good that God is working in these situations. That's what I want. I think that's what I need. And I think a lot of us can benefit from that as well. What is our posture when we go through the tough times? Are we willing to let go and let God come through for us? Or are we going to try to force our hands and do it ourselves? Let go even when you don't know. Let go even when you don't know, because with the right perspective and in time, we might see that God meant it for good. Joseph, all those evil situations that Joseph was faced with and put through ended up resulting in saving the lives of all the people who had put him in those evil positions. We don't hear anything about Potiphar and his wife after that part of the story, but is it reasonable to think that they might have still been alive and benefited from what Joseph did as the right hand of Pharaoh? Sure, why not? Don't quote me on it. There might be some hidden verse in there that I missed that talks about if they died or something like that. I don't know. But I don't think it's unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they benefited from his rise on the other side of things. What about Joseph's brothers? They certainly benefited on the other end, even though they were the very ones who put him in an evil situation. They benefited as well. Joseph, because he was able to let go while he didn't know, God was able to put him in a position to save the lives of people, and not just random non-left or right, like not negative or positive, like to save the lives of everybody, not just neutral folks, but the ones who meant evil against him. Man, it's hard to wrap your mind around, because when we see those negative situations that we go through, one, we don't want to let go, especially if we don't know. And part of that, in that, there is something that we know, and it's that, well, if X, Y, and Z happens, there's no way I'm going to be good to those people again. That's the one thing we feel like we do know when people do us wrong and mean evil against us. We have no interest in doing anything good for them. But Joseph was the opposite way, and it's not because of himself, it's because of what God was able to do in him. Let go even when you don't know. Let go even when you don't know. I'm saying it to say it to myself. Let go even though I don't know. Do I know what the next moments hold? I do not. Do I know if I'll make it to my first Navy weekend? No. Do I know if my car's gonna be done tomorrow? No. Do I know what's gonna happen with my mom? No. Do I know what's gonna happen with my job? No. But I'm gonna let go, and I'm gonna let God. And we'll take it from there. All right. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.